and that's sort of what I've been doing all my life. Whether I'm a person who likes to learn, and I want to learn. And so if I ask questions, like say if you tell me something about your story and then I ask you questions, it seems like an interrogation. People get mixed up. They just get lost because not many people are like that who really, really, really want to learn and take something away from what that experience has given them.
We're here with Christos Lyristis, who is a speaker, entrepreneur, and investor, and he's a transformation coach dedicated to helping you break free from limiting beliefs and to reclaim your power in yourself. Chris wants to prove to you that no matter where you start, you can create the future you deserve. So we're here to talk all about the Bible, solid foundations, power words, thinking about life differently, and so much more. His website is wisdomforliving.com.au, and he was also a recent co-author with Sir Pat Mesiti in the book Reinvented You. So we'll talk about all kinds of resources and insights that Chris has had as far as living our best life and maybe changing our circumstances. So, Mr. Chris, how are you today?
Good, good. Nice to meet you, Rob. And I'd like to thank Pat for this opportunity to be able to be part of this beautiful podcast.
Very nice. You and me are in good company, right? We have some good and smart and very friendly and helpful friends. And so if someone says, all right, this guy, Chris, what is he all about? Why should I sit up and pay very close attention to him? What makes you stand out? What makes you so unique? What has you excited these days?
Yeah, definitely. That's a good question. Very good question. I believe it's my insight in what I've been through, the understanding of it, being able to face those challenges. It's not an easy thing, but you need a deep insight. You need a good understanding. There's a saying in the Bible, actually. It says, "In all you're getting, get understanding." And so, in all you're getting, if you're going to get anything, get understanding, get wisdom. And that's sort of what I've been doing all my life. Whether I'm a person who likes to learn, and I want to learn. And so, if I ask questions, like say if you tell me something about your story and then I ask you questions, it seems like an interrogation. People get mixed up. They just get lost because not many people are like that who really, really, really want to learn and take something away from what that experience has given them. Yeah.
Very nice. So you're saying that learning and questions are important, and it's so spooky because like I have a lot of these podcast conversations and I always think about like what are those recurring themes that keep coming back up, and this idea probably the past 3 weeks or so has been exactly this, that when we were young kids and we had to go to school every day and always learn some language and some math. And what do kids do? They always ask questions, right? They always ask why. Because the whole world is new to them. Why is grass green? Why is the sky blue? Why is that car red? And they ask question after question. And it seems like a lot of us adults get maybe stuck in these bad patterns and we stop being curious. We stop learning. We stop asking questions and we just go in the same old routine day after day. And we say, oh, you said that. I heard that. I have that response. And what a dull existence that we maybe need to rethink and recapture that fun of our youth. And you mentioned already a little bit that you've gone through some things, right? You've had some difficulties in life. So what do you think is worth sharing about the ups and downs that you've experienced?
Yeah. Well, definitely not having a close family has been very important because it can actually, you sort of take off in life following a road, but you don't even know if this road is good or not, and if you got the best help, the best advice, and so you're going to learn a lot of things the hard way, which I did, which has taken me a bit of time. I'm still not, I'm still learning, but it is getting good mentorship, good people around you where you can learn and trust about anything. It can be relationships, it can be financial, It can be on anything, on health. So best is to look for the best thing to do is to look for the best and then try and get knowledge from those people. There's a saying like, if you want to know about money or something, well, just find someone who's very good at it and take them out for dinner and
Hmm.
just try and tap into what they know. And I think that's very, very important. See, there's a saying, you become like those you hang around. Or show me
Yeah.
your friends and I'll tell you what sort of person you are. And that's what it's about. It's having good quality friends. If you have the wrong people around you, doesn't matter. They could be fantastic people, but it will definitely take you down the wrong road because it is not. You want to grow in your life. You want to develop. You don't want to just, like you said before, stagnate. We don't want to do that. That's just a waste of life. And so that's been philosophy I use to when it comes to looking for good people. I'm always looking, always seeing, how can this benefit me? Not in any some sort of material sense, but more spiritually, more mentally. What can I learn? How can I be better? And it's got to challenge you. If your friends don't challenge you, then it's you're not going to obviously you're not going to grow. You're not going to become the real person you're meant to be. And it comes from challenges. It does. Unfortunately, we all hate challenges, but it's true because that's what makes you better. Rather than it's not a thing which takes away. It actually adds. So you want to become better as long as it's done in a healthy way.
Very good. And there's this a real worry about drift and momentum and leaving life to random chance. And if you don't set a goal, if you don't make a plan, if you don't have hopes and dreams, and where will you end up? Well, who knows? It just whatever you end up with, right? You end up with these random friends, might live in a random town with a random career, with a random partner and family, and it just kind of happened to you because you drifted and went this way and that way through life. And it seems like that's maybe in the present moment easier, so to speak, and the path of least resistance. And that's one possible road versus the road of saying, well, I'll challenge myself, I'll do what's hard, I'll make those important decisions, and I'll be intentional about this company that I keep and the goals that I set. And it's a great message. And it seems simple when we say it, but heck, it's so important for life, and so many people are just kind of drifting away on where momentum takes them. And so you say that you've had these helpful friends along the way. Is there any particular friend that is worth mentioning today? A friend that has helped you?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, definitely, yeah, definitely. Scripturally, I know a lot of help comes from above because I don't. I see it happen. I and sometimes I don't know what to do, and then you just wait enough, and then eventually things start to fall into place, and that has helped quite a lot of times because it can make you look like a genius, but we're not, But it's just trusting in something greater than ourselves. Apart from that, friends, my wife has been amazing, married 30 years. She's absolutely amazing. I can feel emotion. What else? It's when you're down and out, and when you're sort of kicked in the guts. That's when you see the real people, real friendship come out, and it can change your point. You've got a perspective on how things should be or what you expect, and then things just change to an opposite, and it becomes it's all you very favourable in your situation. You see a hand reach out which you didn't expect it to reach out. You expect people just to stick to themselves, and I had a lot of that. when I was going through the hospital, I had a lot of people just turn up and just see if I'm all right, and people you wouldn't expect, and just amazing how that having just thinking of that person when they're down and out is something where it is very powerful, because you need it and it gives you strength. On one hand, you don't need it; you can survive without it. But on the other hand, it's you're grateful that, wow, these people are thinking on me.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had a lot of prayers coming my way from the church, and it's just amazing. It actually, I felt the power of like the strength just picked me up, even though I was knocked out and I couldn't say a word. I was just finished because I had toxins going through my body, and because my kidneys sort of gave up in a way, or gave way, and I couldn't speak. I mean, I had no energy, nothing, and yet people just all the time just letting me know they're there for me, and that's what it means to have good people around you. You know.
Yeah. It
Mm.
doesn't take much, does it? Just to reach out, and if you hear that Chris is in the hospital, go and just go visit for 5 minutes. But some
Mm.
things are easy to do and also easy not to do. And when you have those life adversities, sometimes those fair weather friends reveal themselves, don't they? And you say, well, I had this friend for 5 or 10 years. We were friends since childhood, and why are they flaking out on me now? And you think, well, maybe they were kind of not really there for you the entire time. You just only now noticed it. And you mentioned about your wife, and you have a son. And what you always hope for in kids is that your children kind of have the best quality of both of you put together. So I'm really curious about the missus. Like, how did you meet, and what do you think are her best qualities? What attracted you to her?
It's knowing what you want. Okay. Setting up, suppose, foundation, like a foundation, like you can build off
Yeah.
principles, yeah, values, and sticking to it, Like what I mean, not forgetting what you want in life. Like I
Yeah.
never wanted divorce. So if you have an argument, you don't even go there, to speak those words, and um, so I didn't get married to get divorced, and it doesn't matter how bad it gets, you can work it out. You can fix things. It can't be that bad, but we have to give up on each other and just walk out and leave everything behind, and in the end, you got nothing. I don't see how that fixes anything.
Right.
But, yeah, apart from that, yeah, sitting just those principles. You got to be strong in your principles, and that's why you got to have friendships, or you got to be learning of people who are strong, who are solid in their in their quest for life, I suppose. Even in the Scouts, we had steadfast. It was on our belts, to be steadfast, and that's what it is. You want to be, and my sons, they're beautiful. My wife's perfect. She's just great. I'm not going to say everything's perfect, but still, when you're down and out and you cop that punch in the gut, then you'll see, who's
Yeah.
by your side.
Yeah, there's persistence and respect. And what's always great about the randomness of life is the surprises, right? Sometimes we get lessons presented to us and we ignore it, or we don't change our behavior, and we keep getting the lesson taught until we finally do something that we should have done a long time ago. And it has me curious about the surprises that life has dealt you. So when you say these things like have good friends and learn from people who want to be where you are, is there anything that you think has surprised you along the way?
Hmm. You can actually see where a person is going just by observing their life.
Okay.
So if they're going to be good at money, they're going to show it at a young age. They're going to save. They're going to maybe invest. They're going to do the right things. Otherwise, if they're drinking, if they're wasting money, you can see that that trait is they have to fight to change that trait, and then how it's going to affect them, and it can be in a very negative, it can be negative, which then they have to correct their whole thinking about it. So you can see it from a young age just by the way they handle themselves. It's not like, oh, today they're just being, spent, just wasting, and then tomorrow it's all going to change. It's not like that. It takes time, discipline. You need to do research. You need to know what you're doing. So if you've got a lackadaisy attitude towards important things, well, then it's going to affect, that's most probably going to be part of your character for a while until you realize that it really needs changing. Yeah, that's something interesting because you see young people come and work with me, and then you just see the way they spend money and what they do. What they're all pretty much the same. And then you just know that unless they really do something properly with it, that the money or whatever they've been given, they're not. It's not going to go far. It's not going. It's going to come and get them.
Right.
And yeah. See,
Yeah.
There's a saying that um, that when your knowledge, it's like a fruit on a tree, and what happens is if you don't um, if you don't keep on learning, the fruit actually dies. So what I'm saying is, but you've got to be in the ripening stage. You're always got to be learning. You always got to be developing. You always got to be. Otherwise, what happens to the fruit? It goes off because it's ripened. It's gone as far as it can go, and starts to stink, and it gets an attitude, and all these sort of like, and it's good for nothing in the end. Where we've always got to be ripening, always got to be ripening. So we never arrive. We just got to keep on learning and developing because there's always something new to learn.
Yeah.
And it makes life more exciting,
Of
And
course.
so if you stop learning in areas of your life, well then it's gonna we need to learn unless you've mastered it. Well then that's different. But then if we haven't learned, then it's gonna come and get us.
Of course.
Yeah,
So it's an ongoing process. I like the metaphor about the fruit growing because we take a lot of that sort of thing for granted, don't we? We say, well, I'll go to the store and I'll go buy some oranges and they look the same every time. And I'll take them home and put them in the same bowl as always. And we think like, oh, it's the same. I just keep the supply stocked. And it's like, no, those things grow on the tree and are taken out at the right time. And if they're left for too long, they wither and die. And even if you do take them out, if you don't eat them, they wither and die. And so there's a constant renewing. And that means that we need to stay physically healthy and stay refreshed with our friends and keep our mind active and always be learning and curious. And even if we do have mastery, relearn the basics or keep putting those things into practice and be reading and be learning and be helping others. And so if someone out there is a little concerned and they say, oh, they're saying if I'm young and I'm 20 and that what Chris is saying might sound like me, right? If I'm kind of irresponsible with money or if I'm drinking, then Chris says, well, those problems, if ignored, when I'm 40, 50, 60, they'll just enlarge, right? I'll have the same problems, but I'll be older or even bigger problems, right? The debt will have grown, the drinking problem will have progressed, the friendships will be more toxic, and we don't want that, right? It's better to fix the problems before they get too out of control and to have some of this self-awareness. And so you've given us a great education so far just about these wonderful sayings you shared with us and some life lessons. And I know that you've been through so much in health and career and relationships and family, but you're the star of the show here. So in these last few minutes, do you think there might be a missing question that I should be asking you, I just don't know to ask you?
Yeah. Um, well, no, you did covered everything quite well. Excuse me. So I would say powerfully, I'm a um, um, big on words. I don't know how to say it. Just the power of our words. They've got creative power, and so you've got young people have to, and old people too, have to be careful of their words. They're devastating. They can be devastating. They can be. The best thing is when there's negative around, you've got to deal with it without too much words, without making a big explosion out of it, or really, really, really trying to get our own way out of it. We've got to, we've got to just guard our words. There's a good book called Hung by the Tongue, and you must probably know about that book, but it's just how powerful our words are. You can actually you create curses just by not guarding your words and just speaking out, just because you want to speak out or because you think you've got the right to speak out. And I'm reminding myself all the time that you just the power of words. Watch your words. Don't just try and stay at peace all the time. There's I don't know if you've heard magic in the water. I don't know if you've seen that, where a guy, he did an experiment, a Japanese guy, he got some water from a lake, put it on one of those little thin pieces of glass where you put, like they have in the lab, and what he did before he did that, he spoke to it. Certain ones he cursed, certain ones he blessed, and so he'd speak love over one, and the other one would be hate, and then the other one would be anger, and then he froze them all, and they crystallized, and he'd look under a microscope, and they form patterns. And so if it was anger and hatred, they'll deform. But if it was like, say Mother Teresa, for example, they beautifully crystallize, or love, or happiness. And you can see the power of our words, of what they do. And so he did it with rice. You speak to the rice every day. You tell it how nice it is and beautiful. Just a bowl of rice, and then another rice, he cursed it, and one stayed white, beautiful, and the other one went black. And it's just, we don't realize, but in our body we have like 70% water. So if we're cursing all the time, what are we doing to our body? Well, what's happening inside? Today might be all right, you can't see it, but later on down the track, well, anything can happen. You don't want to be cursing yourself, and that's what they even call swear words, curse words, and just gotta just be careful of words. Words are very powerful. Yeah, you can damage someone, and they'll go on for years and years.
Oh yeah,
I'll never forget it.
And I've had friends like that where they were just so negative, and then once the friendship ended or one of us moved away, it took maybe a few weeks or months, but then I thought like, hey, I feel more positive just because I'm not around the same old sarcasm and the same keywords and negativity and the saying, well, this won't work, and someone else's bad thinking kind of gets into your head, and then you have like a simulation of them, like playing around in your brain, and it's just, and like their badness just passes on. And so if we have a choice between passing on the negativity and having that ripple effect, having others pass on anger and fear, versus some hope, optimism, encouragement, and being kind, why not choose that? Because it will make us feel better and make those around us feel better as well. And then we'll
Um,
attract the right people. And because life is too dang short to be such a negative person in that way. And so, man, you've
yeah.
taken us around such a fun racetrack of all these ideas, and you've given us some hope, some insights. But when we're on a podcast, there's a lot of just like random discussion. And if someone says, hey, I want to find out about this guy, Chris Lyristis, and his website, wisdomforliving.com.au, why would someone go to your website and find out more about you, and where should they go?
Mm, I suppose they can always email me. Yeah.
Okay.
And also the website's good. I just don't know if I've left a facility there because it's still quite new. The way they can ask a question, and maybe I should do that. And I
Okay.
will. Yeah, and yeah, that's no problem. I'm happy to help. You know, I really, a lot of people run away, like they won't help. They don't know which way to go because they don't want the responsibility of just that person. You know, but if you understand it, if you understand people, you understand yourself, and you don't just speak rubbish, then you're definitely going to give them something which can carry them through or get them over that hurdle, to take on whatever they need to take on. Mm.
Very nice. It's worth it to be a good person and to surround yourself with good people. And if you say, hey, a lot of what Chris made sense, and I want to pursue some of these self-help ideas, then wisdomforliving.com.au should be
Yeah.
your next step. And he says he'll add email address or a contact form or some way to get in touch to find out more. Wisdom for Living is all about inspiration and empowerment to equip you with knowledge to overcome life's challenges, to bring out your best. And it's a seed planted in good soil, which is you, that will produce a harvest of positive results for yourself and others. So wisdomforliving.com.au. And then we'll also link to the show notes for the book reinventedyoubook.com, where Chris is a co-author with Pat Mesiti, and his very excellent, wonderful, helpful chapter is called Wake Up to the Life You Deserve. Reclaim your power and rewrite your story. He talks about his story about being an immigrant Greek family, and he talks about Marcus Aurelius, Proverbs, so many helpful ideas and resources. But the resource and idea I want to tackle at the very end of our conversation here, Mr. Chris, is a fun or interesting quote or lesson. So do you have any ideas as far as a conversation ender, a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you?
Well, my life wasn't very good. I mean, it was tough, so it was hard to find good things in my growing up. I don't know if this can help. I to to make money, I actually I collected, I don't know, back then, aluminium cans, and we used to take them down to where they collect aluminium cans, I suppose, the aluminium centre, and cash in. So we used to, anyway, I used to get that money, and because I wouldn't get any money off my parents, and so I had to find some. And so what happened was, with that money, I cash it in, and I'd either go out to my favourite Chinese restaurant and eat, or hire a boat, a speedboat, and it wasn't very fast. It was, yeah, and just cruise around. It's a little cruiser, half cabin cruiser, and I used to invite my friends, either girls or friends, and just have like 4 hours out on the water. That was very interesting. That was a good memory of my olden days. Apart from that, a quote, yeah, quote. There's a lot. There's a lot there. I wish I could think of something, so quickly, but yeah. Yeah, no, nothing at the moment, my friend. Just pretty much trying to. Oh, I've got another experience.
Okay.
My stepfather. This is one about it's about him, and in the book. What happened was a friend of mine, one of my best friends, came around to the house, and my stepfather was one of his moves, and he goes, "Hey, don't come around here again." He goes, "How come?" He goes, "No, I don't want anyone coming around." Anyway, so my friend goes, "All right, well then I'll just ring." And he goes, "No, don't want you ringing." And he pretty much closed every opportunity for my friend to come around. And it's sort of like a joke because there was how else we didn't have mobile phones in them days. So if you ring, it rings inside the house, so it can't ring, can't come round. It's like this is yeah, I know it's a sort of like maybe it's a bit boring, but it's just amazing how people live and they think they're normal, but yeah. Anyway, we enjoy life, enjoy life. Um, Work with good people, get good people around you, and you'll see life will change. Get wisdom, if anything, get wisdom for your life.
Very good.
Mm.
And as you're saying that, I was worried because we were afraid we couldn't find a quote. In the book, you have Marcus Aurelius, and he says, "We cannot control external events, but we can control our reactions and response to them. It's a discipline that needs to be developed." And so you said in your book that it's important to train yourself to see things from multiple angles rather than stuck in a rigid point of view. And I think that's such a
True.
cool idea, right? That if life hits you with things and you say, okay, well, this is my opportunity to build the muscle and be more disciplined and figure out a way to learn from this or make it stronger or change my course of action. And if dad's being a bully as far as the friends that are coming around, well, then it won't last forever, and I can use that as an example to not do that and be a much better father to my kid.
You're right on. And actually, you just reminded me that patience was the biggest one. And there was a song called the In the Long Run, or The Long Run is by Red Gum. It's an old song. It's a war song, is actually, and they spoke about uranium mining, people protesting. There's all these protests going on. Going to the Vietnam and all this, and they realised when they got there that hey, this is not what we thought it was going to be. But it said we'll be all right. They should say in the end, you just kept on going. It'll be all right in the long run.
Hmm.
It'll be all right. And that's a song I sung to myself.
Yeah.
That
And
is that it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Just be patient. Eventually you get enough money. Eventually be able to move out of home. Eventually you get your life under control the way you want. Just yeah, it'll be all right. So that's
yeah.
gave me a hope.
That's reassuring. Play the long game. It'll be all right. And with that advice, check out Chris's excellent website, wisdomforliving.com.au, and then the book, co-authored with Pat Mesiti, Reinvented You. You can find it on Amazon, and his chapter is Wake Up to the Life You Deserve. So, Mr. Christos Lyristis, it's been such a blast, a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks for being here, and thanks for being you.
Thank you. It's been great to talk to you. Thank you. Take care.